most of us think of financial independence almost like a number. I need to reach this number, and then I can spend my days doing whatever I want to do. But the downside of looking at financial independence, looking at wealth as a number, is it can cause you to waste years of your life, maybe even decades of your life. So rather than looking at it as a number, I want you to think of it as a spectrum in 3 main levels that each of us have to decide which level we want to work to achieve. And then when we get there, then we can decide, do I still feel this way? Is this sufficient? So the first level of wealth is what I call your needs level of wealth. Your needs are met. It's basically the basics, or your survival level of wealth. And survival level of wealth is, I can pay my rent, or I can pay my mortgage, I can put food on the table, I have all of my necessity, all of my needs met. And for many of us, that's going to be a pretty Spartan existence, but not for all of us. For some people, that is a huge milestone, and they're super happy, and they're super content with that. I've been fortunate to travel to a fair number of countries around the world. I've met people that have met this survival level of wealth, and they're some of the happiest and most content people you could ever meet. And really, their joy comes from maybe slow traveling around the world, from the adventures that come from seeking new cultures, and just looking at the world through a new lens every time that they move. And people think of traveling as expensive, but in many parts of the world, it's actually cheaper to live there. It's cheaper to travel there than it is to live in, at least where I live, in the United States. So the first level of wealth is survival level of wealth. The second level of wealth is really, where not only are your needs met, but most of your wants are met. Not all of them, but most of them are met. So you have some of the comforts, some of the niceties in life. If you want to go eat out, if you and your partner, you and your spouse are foodie people, and you like going to restaurants, you don't need to say, well, we don't have enough money. We've got a budget. We can't go out to eat this month. So you have those niceties. If you want to buy a new car every several years, if you want to take a nice vacation and stay at a 4 or 5 star hotel, you've got sufficient funds to do that without overly worrying, gee, do we have enough money? And this is really where most people end up retiring. I'd say maybe 10% of people retire with what I call that survivability, the needs met level of wealth. Then probably 3/4 of us retire at this next level of wealth where we have those comforts. And then some folks will say, you know what, I want more than that. I want to keep building. Maybe you love your job, and maybe you don't have this pressing need to retire. And if that's you, absolutely great. There's a lot of us that are jealous, and frankly, I fall into that category. I really enjoy doing what I do. It's one of the reasons I do these YouTube videos. I'm fortunate. I get a lot of purpose out of my job. Hopefully, folks find these videos super helpful. But the level above that lifestyle wealth, which again is probably where 3/4 of us shoot to retire, the level above that is abundance, where you have, more money than you could reasonably spend. You're not traveling around in a private jet. You don't have a private chauffeur. You don't have 5 different homes, but you have abundance. You feel like you have more than what you need for the things that you want in life. So that's the third level of wealth, is really this abundance, and you have money to maybe support causes that you care about. You can support your adult children if you want to do that. Maybe you can afford to help them put down a down payment on a house, or maybe even more than that. So those 3 levels of wealth, it's almost like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Maslow is a famous psychologist, and he talked about this hierarchy of needs. The first is just, psychologically, you have your psychological needs met. The second one is safety. You're not worried about putting food on the table. So Maslow has 5 different levels of security and happiness. The third one is social status. You feel you have a group of people where, you know, they're your tribe, and you feel like you fit in and you belong. And then the fourth level is esteem. You feel like that tribe is giving you positive vibes and admiration. And then the last one is self-actuation, where it's really about mentoring and helping other folks. And that is, according to Maslow, the highest level. And in the levels of wealth, you know, if you're happy to get your needs met, to have your rent paid and food on the table, and maybe you're 40 years old, and that gives you another 40 years of time freedom to do what you want, where you want, with whom you want, that's a really valuable thing. And for other folks, they're going to say, that's a little too Spartan for me. You know, I want to have a house. I want to live in the neighborhood that I want to live in. I want some of the niceties in life. And so there you bump up into the lifestyle. And then finally, as I said, with that highest level of wealth, the abundance. Now, importantly, how do you determine if you know, what level of wealth is that for you? What are these actual numbers for you? And for many of us, the way to determine that is, you know, look at what that amount of money is. Let's say a real common one would be $3,000 a month would be necessities of life. So $3,000 a month, how much money does it take to do that? And, you know, if this was your only source of income, I could tell you at $3,000 a month, that's $36,000. You could multiply that number by 25, and that would give you a ballpark of about how much money that you need in order to have that level of wealth. But if you live in the US, you're going to have Social Security kicking in, so it's a little more complicated. But I'll share with you at the end of a video a free website that you can use that'll go through that math and take into account Social Security. We'll take in any other, if you have a pension, any other sources of income that you have coming in. So let's just, for the sake of argument, say you need $3,000 for your necessities. It tends to be a pretty common number that I would hear when I talk to people about this. The next level of wealth might, you know, to get your, not only your needs, but most of your wants met, your lifestyle. For many of us, that would take an extra $3,000 a month. So now you're at $6,000 a month. And now you've got a comfortable retirement. And then for that final level of wealth, the abundance, you know, maybe that's another $3,000, maybe that's another $4,000. If we do $4,000, then it gives me easy math, right? You got $3,000 for your needs, $3,000 for your wants, another $4,000, it's $10,000 a month. And the website that you can plug all of this into is called honestmath.com. I'm not sponsored by them. It's a great website. I do a video here where I go through an example of somebody in their 50s that has $500,000 and asks, do I have enough money to retire? So if you're interested in seeing how that tool is used, if you're interested in being in your 50s and $500,000, I'll see you in there. And if you want to learn how to use the tool, I'll see you in the video as well. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.